God's plan is coming together right now. Not yesterday, not tomorrow, right now. Even if you cannot see it, even if everything around you feels chaotic, unstable, uncertain, the threads of a divine design are weaving together beneath the surface. You are not drifting aimlessly through the days, you are being guided. What feels like delay is often divine preparation. What looks like destruction may be holy redirection. What seems like silence is God moving pieces into place with absolute precision. You may be standing in a space between chapters, the page still blank, the ink refusing to flow. You might feel forgotten, as if prayers vanished into nothing. But heaven has not forgotten you. It never did. The truth is, there is a plan bigger than your fears and stronger than your doubt. A blueprint that accounts for every detour, every heartbreak, every failure. It is not falling apart. It is falling together, and if you listen closely, beneath the noise of this world, you will feel the rhythm of alignment, the quiet thunder of destiny approaching. God's plan is coming together right now, and you are not late. You are right on divine time. Everything you went through, the tears, the betrayal, the nights you thought would swallow you, none of it was wasted. None of it disqualified you. In fact, it trained you, it carved you, it refined you. You were never being punished. You were being positioned. Sometimes what you thought was rejection was protection. That door didn't open because what waits on the other side wasn't built for you. Not in your current state, not with your current awareness. But now you're ready. You're wiser. You've walked through fire and something divine survived the burn. You're no longer asking, why me? You're starting to ask, what now? Because you feel it, the shift, the momentum, the weight of something holy building in the unseen. You must align your heart, clear your mind, and open your spirit. What's coming is too big for old mindsets. What's coming requires room. God is about to pour, and He needs a vessel that's ready to receive. Before we go deeper into this word, I need you to do two things. First, like this video, not just to support the channel, but as an act of agreement. Second, subscribe to help us reach 1,000 subscribers in the comments number 99. But as a prophetic signal to heaven, 11 represents divine alignment and acceleration. When you type it, you're not just commenting, you're declaring. If you are truly a chosen one, you already feel the urgency in your spirit. You already know this word is for you. The enemy has tried to wear you out, delay your promise, and convince you that time has passed you by. But God says, I am the author of time, and I make all things new. This is the hour of alignment, and it's not just about waiting, it's about knowing. Feel it. God's plan is coming together right now. You are going to begin seeing signs, unexpected opportunities, people showing up out of nowhere to support you. Delays suddenly lifting, the resources that once felt out of reach beginning to flow toward you like rivers converging. This isn't magic, this is divine mathematics. You passed the test, you didn't quit, and that didn't go unnoticed. There are moments in life when heaven presses in, and this is one of them. You may still have questions, and you may not have all the answers. But you don't need the answers right now. You need alignment, and that alignment is beginning inside of you, in your gut, in your thoughts, in your energy. You're not being called to chase, you're being summoned to prepare. The uncomfortable seasons of waiting have stretched you. They didn't break you, they built capacity. You can hold more now, you can discern better, you can sense energy that doesn't match your elevation. You've learned not to beg for what is already yours. That's power, that's wisdom, and that is exactly what was required for this next step to unfold. Everything in God's plan moves according to awareness, and now that you see clearer, hear clearer, and feel clearer, heaven is ready to reveal what's next. The fog is lifting, the detours are ending. You are no longer in the in-between. You are stepping into divine right timing, the unfolding of destiny that was always coming for you. Stop thinking you missed it. You didn't. Stop thinking you're too old, too late, too far gone. You're not. You are exactly where you need to be, at the edge of everything you've prayed for. If it hasn't shown up yet, it means it's still being aligned behind the scenes. And when it arrives, it will be in such harmony that you will look back on every delay and say, now I understand. That's the power of divine orchestration. It doesn't make sense when you're inside it, but once it hits completely, suddenly, all at once, just like that. God's plan is coming together right now, and it will not be delayed. Let people question you. Let them doubt you. Let them fall away if they must. Don't chase those who couldn't see the vision. God didn't reveal your calling to them. He revealed it to you. It was planted in your soul, not theirs. They may not understand why you've changed, why you're quieter, more intentional, focused. It's because you're in the final stages of becoming. This isn't a breakdown. It's a birthing, and like any true labor, it gets more intense before it releases the promise. You are not breaking down, you are breaking through. The contractions you feel in your life are contractions of destiny. Something holy is crowning, something sacred is about to be born, and just like that, your world will shift. Not because of luck, but because of divine timing. The things you've been visualizing, manifesting, praying over, crying for, they are aligning not just with your desire, but with your readiness. Heaven is strategic. God doesn't rush, but when it's time, everything accelerates. Windows open, paths clear, people appear, ideas ignite, and you'll know it's Him because you didn't force it, but it fits. It flows, and it frees you. That's how you'll know. That's how you'll feel. Because this is not man-made favor. This is not algorithm luck. This is the fingerprint of God all over your story. So breathe. Don't panic. Don't compare. Don't beg. You don't need to compete in a race that was custom designed for your feet. What's meant for you is not being delayed, it's being delivered. Every step you took in faith, every decision you made in integrity, every time you chose growth over revenge, silence over chaos, healing over ego, it counted. And it added up. You don't even know the weight of what you've been preparing for. But heaven knows. And now it's time. Everything you've endured has brought you here. And from this moment forward, things will not be the same. God's plan is coming together right now. She never planned to become the kind of person who sits in silence with her palms open to the sky, whispering things into the wind, and believing that something was listening. But pain rewired her, life humbled her. And after everything had collapsed, after the noise of her old life faded, she started to feel it. A quiet pull, a presence, a rhythm deeper than logic. At first, she thought it was just her own thoughts. But no, this was different. This had weight. It had direction. It didn't scream. It guided. It didn't rush. It waited. And the deeper she leaned into it, the more she began to realize. This wasn't just her life falling apart. This was a divine plan being rebuilt from the ruins. She remembered the moment everything changed. It wasn't dramatic. It didn't come with fireworks. It came with a whisper. She had just gotten off the phone after another disappointment. A job that vanished, a person who ghosted, a door that looked open but slammed shut when she reached for it. She had been crying again, that deep, exhausted kind of cry that doesn't even feel like it belongs to the moment, but to 100 moments before it. She sat on the floor, her hands trembling, her breath uneven. And in the middle of that pain, she heard something, not outside of her, but from somewhere deeper. "Trust me, I'm not finished." That's all it said, but it shattered her, because it was the first time she didn't feel alone in the breaking. Something holy had sat beside her in her sorrow, something vast and patient and powerful. And suddenly she realized, maybe she hadn't been abandoned, maybe she had been cocooned. From that day forward, everything changed. Not instantly, not all at once, but gradually, like the thaw after a long winter, like the slow unfurling of spring. She stopped chasing, she started listening, she paid attention to what drained her and what gave her peace. She let go of people she once begged to stay. She stopped explaining herself to those who were committed to misunderstanding her. She moved differently, and the more she aligned with what felt sacred, the more sacred things began to appear. Random confirmations, unexpected emails, divine coincidences that made her pause and say, "Wait, what are the odds?" The world around her didn't always understand her new quiet. They thought she was isolating, but she wasn't running from. She was running toward peace, toward truth. toward the voice that had whispered in her darkness and never left. And she realized something else. God doesn't always speak in language. Sometimes he speaks in patterns, in flow, in energy, in the way everything starts sinking without effort, in the people who suddenly enter your life carrying answers to questions you haven't asked out loud. One day, while walking along a quiet road just before sunset, she stopped. The light was golden. The wind kissed the trees. Something about the moment felt supernatural, and it hit her. This is what it feels like when the plan comes together. Not loud, not chaotic, but certain, harmonized, peaceful. She didn't have everything she thought she wanted, but she had everything she needed. She wasn't where she thought she'd be, but she was exactly where she was supposed to be. And that shift, that trust, unlocked everything. Another soul across the city was on his knees, not in church, not in a sacred temple, but in the corner of his small apartment, forehead pressed to the floor, whispering words even he didn't fully understand. He had lost it all. His job, his marriage, his sense of self. He was on the edge, and the edge had teeth. But something held him back from falling. Something pulled him to his knees instead. That night, he didn't beg for blessings. He didn't even ask for rescue. He just said, "If you're real, show me you still see me." He didn't get a voice in the clouds. No angel appeared, but the next day, his phone rang. A friend he hadn't heard from in years said, "I don't know why, but you came to mind heavy. Are you okay?" That one call unraveled the lie that he was forgotten. That one moment broke something open in him. It wasn't the full answer, but it was enough. It was the breadcrumb that told him, the plan isn't broken. You're still in it. He started waking up earlier, reading things that fed his spirit, walking with intention, smiling at strangers, little things. But those little things started shifting his world. A job offer came that didn't match his past. It matched his purpose. A woman entered his life not as a distraction, but as a mirror. And for the first time in years, he didn't feel like he was building a life out of desperation. He was aligning, trusting, becoming. That's the miracle of God's plan. It doesn't skip your pain. It uses it. It doesn't ignore your mess. It builds through it. And when it starts coming together, it humbles you, because you realize every no protected you. Every delay developed you, every detour directed you, and the people who left, they made space for what was meant to arrive. So when people ask her how she made it, she doesn't talk about strategy, she talks about surrender. When they ask him how he turned it around, he doesn't talk about hustle, he talks about faith, about the whispers, about the invisible net that caught him when the world walked out. They both know now what they didn't back then. God's plan doesn't always look like progress. Sometimes it looks like pause, like confusion, like silence, until suddenly it doesn't. Until suddenly you realize you're standing in the middle of everything that was once only a dream. And when it happens, when it all clicks, you will not be surprised. You will feel like you've known all along. Because deep down, your soul was always in sync with the plan. Even when your mind doubted, even when your heart broke, even when your eyes couldn't see, some part of you always knew God's plan is coming together right now. There's something that happens when the soul begins to wake up. At first, it feels like discomfort, a sense that the life you've been living is too tight, too small, too scripted. The routine that once felt safe now feels suffocating. The people who used to entertain you now drain you. The places you once escaped to begin to echo with emptiness. You think something is wrong with you, but nothing is wrong. In fact, something is finally right, because what you're feeling is not the end. It's the beginning, the sacred beginning of the shift. One woman began to notice it in the smallest ways. Every time she ignored her intuition, something went wrong. A plan failed, a person lied. A job turned toxic, but every time she listened, even when it didn't make logical sense, things just flowed. Once, she was about to sign a lease for an apartment that looked perfect on paper. But something inside her screamed, wait. She didn't understand it. She had already paid the deposit. Her friends told her to stop overthinking, but that night she couldn't sleep. Her chest felt tight, her dreams were stormy. She pulled out at the last moment. 2 weeks later, that building was in the news. A major waterline had burst. Mold, insurance nightmare, total chaos. That's when she knew the voice inside isn't always loud, but it's always right. That was her confirmation. The divine plan speaks in protection. Elsewhere, a man began having the same number show up again and again. On clocks, on receipts, on street signs. He thought it was coincidence at first, but then it started happening at moments that felt sacred. Right after he made a powerful decision, or right before a breakthrough. He felt silly believing it meant something. But he couldn't deny the timing. Something beyond him was speaking in symbols, codes, whispers. He started calling it breadcrumbs from heaven. He followed them. Slowly, his life started to feel orchestrated instead of chaotic. Patterns emerged, connections formed. The people he lost were replaced with people who matched his spirit. The work that drained him was replaced with purpose. All he had to do was pay attention. That's how the divine works. It doesn't always appear in thunder or revelation. Sometimes it's quiet, gentle, but relentless. It nudges, it warns, it confirms, and it keeps showing up until you finally say, "I trust this." And when you do, the plan accelerates. Not because you earned it, but because you aligned with it. Because you stopped resisting the redirection. Because you stopped calling detours failures. Because you stopped trying to fix things that were meant to fall apart. She was walking down a road one evening, overwhelmed, frustrated, full of self-doubt. She whispered, "Just give me a sign. Anything. I just need to know I'm not alone." At that moment, a stranger on a bicycle passed her and shouted, "Keep going, you're almost there." He was talking to someone behind her, but her knees buckled, her eyes filled, because she knew that wasn't random. That was the answer. Her sign didn't come from the clouds, it came from a moment of divine interception disguised as accident. That's how heaven speaks, not in the way you expect, but always in the way you need. The truth is, most people miss the signs because they're too busy looking for drama, for fireworks, for perfection, but the divine is elegant. It speaks through flow, through release, through the way something doesn't force or demand, but simply arrives. If you have to beg for it, it's not part of the plan. If you have to shrink for it, it's not aligned. God's plan never asks you to betray your soul. It never requires you to lose yourself to gain what is already yours. And the deeper you understand that, the faster you start letting go of what was never truly sent for you. A woman who had spent years in relationships that made her feel invisible finally decided to be alone. Not out of fear, but out of sacred self-respect. For the first time, she wasn't choosing based on loneliness. She was choosing based on alignment. She said no to a love that was lukewarm. She walked away from attention that came with disrespect. She started loving herself in a way that didn't leave scraps for anyone else to define her. And when she stopped settling, she started receiving. A man appeared, not to complete her, but to complement her. Not to rescue her, but to walk beside her. He didn't chase her, he recognized her. And that's when she understood. The plan had always included him. But first, she had to become the version of herself who could recognize that kind of love. This is what the unfolding looks like. First, it strips you, then it grounds you, then it aligns you. And finally, it reveals to you what was always waiting for you. Once you are ready, most of the delay isn't about the blessing. It's about the vessel. Are you ready to receive it? Can you hold it without self-sabotage? Can you trust it without doubt? Can you carry it without shrinking? When God's plan starts coming together, it asks for your participation. Not control, not force, just participation. That means doing your part, saying yes when it's time, saying no when it's sacred, staying open even when you're scared, taking one step when you're not sure where it leads. It's not passive. It's co-creation. It's God handing you the map, and you having the courage to take the first step even when the rest of the path is hidden in fog. And somewhere, out there right now, someone is at the edge of their breakthrough. They're tired. They're confused. But something keeps nudging them to hold on, to not give up just yet, to wait one more day, to send one more email, to make one more move. That's not just hope. That's instruction. That's divine programming waking up. That's the plan pressing forward. Not just around you, but inside of you. So if you're feeling the shift, you're not imagining it. If you're suddenly feeling drawn to new spaces, new people, new habits, that's not boredom, that's preparation. If things are falling apart, maybe they were never built on divine foundation, and if everything seems quiet right now, it's only because the roots are growing. You're being fortified, you're being readied. Because very soon we'll look around and realize this isn't the old chapter rewritten. This is a brand new volume, and every word is sacred. You are not behind, you are not being punished, you are not overlooked. You are being prepared, elevated, positioned, and in time, when you're living the very reality that once felt out of reach, you'll whisper to yourself the truth that always lived inside of you. God's plan is coming together right now. Nothing feels the same anymore, and that shouldn't scare you, because this is not a breakdown, this is your rising. What looked like delay was never punishment, it was divine alignment in disguise. The chaos, the silence, the hollow moments, they were all part of something sacred unfolding. A path was clearing, and now that path is no longer invisible. It is right in front of you. God's plan is coming together right now. Yes, right now. You're no longer waiting. You're no longer begging. You're no longer drowning in unanswered questions. Because the voice within is finally louder than the noise around you. Feel that. Feel the shift in the atmosphere. Time is bending toward you. Everything is accelerating because you've finally slowed down. You've stopped forcing and started flowing. The old version of you has nothing left to pull you back. You've stopped spending energy on doors that don't recognize your frequency. You are now at a level where doors open for you, automatically. You are not just a passenger in this divine unfolding. You are the living evidence that the plan works. Every no protected you. Every wait prepared you. Every silent night strengthened you. And now it's harvest. No longer just rooting in the dark, you're blooming in the light. This is not a return. This is a rebirth, like a sunrise that arrives quietly, yet undeniably. This is not happening to you, it's happening through you. The ones entering your life now don't deplete you. They reflect you, they respect you, they recognize you, because you've risen beyond your old vibration. That's why some people don't get you anymore. That's why some fell away without warning, and you're no longer trying to explain it. You've learned the truth. Every level requires new alignment. Every level demands new loyalty, and not everyone is willing to rise. That's not a loss, that's divine filtration. You're not seeking anymore, you're summoning. Because your energy is clear now, and clear energy attracts clear outcomes. Your prayers are still vibrating in the heavens, but this time they're coming not just from longing, but from knowing. You no longer just want what's meant for you, you are finally ready to receive it. And because of that, everything is speeding up. Connections, ideas, resources, support, opportunities. They're not random, they're responding to your alignment. This isn't luck, this is the delivery of destiny. All those quiet days, those nothing is happening moments, they were foundations being laid, roots deepening, and now the structure is rising. This structure has a name, your divine timing. You're no longer overexerting for more. More is already finding you. Because you've entered the I deserve consciousness, because you've stopped saying, who am I to, and started declaring, I am who I am. That shift changes everything. And now everything is changing. The script has flipped. The season has shifted. The way is open. And this time, you're not sacrificing pieces of yourself to receive. You're receiving simply because you're in position. People will ask, how did you do it? But you no longer owe explanations. Because what's happening can't be explained, it can only be felt. This isn't surface-level success, this is frequency-based fulfillment. It's not seen with the eyes, it's recognized by the spirit, and only those who've done the work will understand it. Others won't. They're still stuck in your past version, but you've outgrown that chapter. You've stepped into a new book, a new timeline, a new truth. And in this truth, the rule is simple. Don't chase, attract, don't force, align. There's no going back now. Nothing can return to how it was. Because you're not who you were. You're not moving by logic anymore. You're being led by intuition. You're not surviving anymore. You're creating. You're not reacting anymore. You're embodying. And what you receive from this place will be permanent. Because this time, the foundation is awareness. The foundation is truth. The foundation is you finally remembering your own light. Now take a breath. As if every cell in your body is remembering this sacred sentence, God's plan is coming together right now. Don't just read it, live it, vibrate it, walk it, because this is no longer a hope, this is no longer a dream, this is your moment, this is your realm, this is your divine reality.